Hi, how you doing? Justin here. Welcome to the second lesson in my GarageBand series. This one we're going to be looking at using loops to create a backing track. In the next lesson we're going to be looking at recording guitar, so it kind of made sense to me to look at how to make a backing track to play your guitar over first of all. We're going to be both looking at audio and MIDI and a little bit of editing, but mainly the kind of the general idea of using loops and how to select them, how to move them around and copy them and things like that. And hopefully you'll find it interesting. I must confess I had a little bit of a glitch with the screencast software, and there was a conflicting sample rate between GarageBand and the software there. So when I came to the editing stage and started doing the audio, there's some kind of snap, crackle and pop going on in the audio from GarageBand. But because the rest of the lesson kind of worked out pretty good and I'd already spent ages on the animating the screencast, I figured I'd just leave it anyway, and I promise that I'll do better next time. I think I figured it out now. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and let's get to that screenshot. Okay, so we're going to start here by grabbing our GarageBand application. Just click that to start it up. And we're going to be going for a new project, and we're going to be using loops today. So double click on the loops. We're going to call this one JustinGuitar.com using loops. So just ignore this section here in the middle. You don't really need to worry about setting anything to do with that just yet. So just create, and you will be presented with this page. I'll just expand this up a little bit. So we're going to start by looking at some drums and looking at the different loops that we've got available here. Hopefully you remember this little loop button down in the right hand corner. That's if you click it, it'll disappear, but we want this open. And we're going to start by clicking on the All Drums button right at the top, because drums is generally a good place to start when you're creating a groove. So you'll see here there's a bunch of different grooves, and by clicking on one of those you'll start a preview of that loop, and click it again and it'll stop. So, and then just have a listen to a few different grooves. There's literally hundreds and hundreds to choose from here. You'll notice here that there's two different types. There's one with a little green icon and one with a blue icon. The ones with the green icons are what called MIDI loops, and the ones with the blue icons are audio loops. And we're going to start with an audio loop. And what about this? Okay, that looks like a pretty good one to start off with. So let's start off by grabbing this bar band basic drum set. Just click and drag it into the main window, and you'll see it appear when you let go, and it'll create a track for it. So if we hit the space bar now, we can hear the loop that we've just played. Now, important to realize here that this is an audio loop. So if we double click on it, you'll see that the editor appears underneath here, and you can see the audio waveform going along there as we play the tune. And with an audio waveform, we can change things like the pitch, so we could actually tune it down. It'll make it sound lower. But we can't actually change the notes of individual notes, say on a bass guitar part. We do that better with MIDI, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So that's to close the editor. Again, you double click on the part and it'll disappear. Or if you don't want to do that, you're down in this area, you can use the editor button and it'll disappear. So first interesting thing is copying the part. So if we've got the part selected and we hold down the Alt key and click and drag, you'll see that the part is copied there. Okay, let's do that one more time. And usually every kind of 4 or 8 bars, it's a nice thing to have a little variation. So let's just have a listen to a different drum set. Maybe not that one. Where's something? Okay, let's try this one. So just click and drag that one in, and we've got something that's now a little different. Okay, so we could just click and drag that one again. And now we've got a nice little 8-bar loop, but you can experiment with all of these different parts and layering them up and stuff. We're going to be looking at that a little bit more in a second. So a couple of other interesting things to worth noting is if you move your cursor to the top right hand corner of a part and drag, it will loop that part. So it'll just continually play that same thing. We're not going to be using that right away, but important to know that that exists as well. But just as a starting point, I recommend you just listen through a few different ones, get used to moving them around and copying them up. So let's have a loop now at adding some bass guitar. So we go back over to our looper section, we hit reset, and then we look for bass. And now you can see, again, a whole bunch of different bass loops that you can have a look around with. There's a cool one that I think works with this loop that I found earlier, which I think was called British Invasion. Here we go. Again, just click them once to have a listen. Yeah, that one sounds pretty cool. So here we go. Let's just grab that part again, drag it into the main window, and there it appears. So let's have a listen to that with the drums now. Okay, now this one's a MIDI part, so if we double click on this one, you'll see in the editor that we've got little notes that come up. You can look at it in a score mode and look at it as far as notation goes, or in the piano roll. I think it's a little clearer to see what's going on. You can actually see the notes as they go past. And it's very, very easy to edit these things. It's literally just click and drag. Let's say we want that at an octave at the end. Okay, or we could change this one down there. Again, we're going to talk a little bit more about editing these later, but you can really have a lot of fun with experimenting with how these things work. I think that's a little bit long as well, actually, because we don't really want two notes at the same time on the bass. It tends to sound a little bit weird, so I'll just tweak that a bit. I want to hear a different note there. That one. Okay, so we've just done a very minor edit, and again, this is the kind of thing, it's great fun to experiment with that this idea and just see what you come up with. Using the loops as a template is a good way of kind of learning about how this sort of stuff works, rather than just having to program things completely from fresh. So let's get rid of the editor again now. We're done with that, and we're going to now copy this loop around for those whole 4 or 8 bars rather. So we have a listen through the whole thing now. Okay, it's sounding pretty cool. So what about if we had a little bit of piano now, a bit of keyboard? So again, we'll go back over to reset. We'll have piano, and again, there's a huge collection of different piano things that you can have, from bossa nova, rock piano. You know, this is great. In fact, let's have a little go at this one using this classic rock piano. So let's just drag that over and just see what it sounds like, because you know it doesn't always sound good. You have to experiment a bit. Here we go. Now I think that's sounding pretty cool, but it's a little bit loud. So let's have a little look over here and see what we've got. So this little slider here is the volume control. So if we turn that down now, get that sitting in a nice place. We've also got here this left and right, which is definitely panning. So if we wanted to put the piano just over in one side, we'd move it over to the left. The piano doesn't sound much good that way. Alternate click puts it back in the center again, to save you trying to figure out exactly whether, if you're trying to go like that and get it in the middle, it's difficult. So leave it where it is, hit Alt, click on it, and it'll reset it back right to the center. So I think that's sounding pretty cool. Let's copy that one over again, Alt, click. Now, the one thing with this loop at the moment is, by about here, I'm feeling like it needs to change chords a little bit. So let's have a little look at dividing things up. Now, what I want to hear really is, I want a chord change happening here. I want the bass and the piano to move. We don't need to worry about changing the key for the drums, obviously. But first of all, we need to do a little bit of separating. So if we move the cursor, that red line, to where we want things to break, we select the part and we go Apple T, you'll see that it splits that into two different parts. Okay, now I want to have another part changing here, so I'm going to do Apple T here, and actually I want the bass to cut as well, because you're going to see something pretty cool in a second. So let's say at this point we want it to move down a tone. We want the chords and the harmony to move down one tone. That's two semitones. If we double click on that bass now, we get the editor open, we can see that that little bit's selected, and we can change the pitch here and move it down two semitones. Okay, and you'll see two semitones has moved as well in the part. So we'd need to be doing that as well for the piano. So again, we select it, we move the pitch down two, and you'll find now if we listen back to that little section, it'll drop down a tone for that one little bit. And then back again. But actually I want a different chord here as well. So actually I'm going to go this one up 7 semitones, which will take it to the 4 chord. You know, this takes a little bit of experience and practice and just playing around again. Don't be afraid to just experiment a bit. And now we'll have two different chord changes. Let's go from a bar before. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. This is sounding pretty cool. However, I think it needs a little bit of percussion. So let's say we have a look at some percussion loops again. Let's have a little, what have we got? Some tambourine or something like that would be cool. Have we got tambourine, I wonder? But there's a lot of stuff here. I have seen tambourines here somewhere before. I'm sure I have. Just trying to remember what it was called. I don't think it was called tambourine. It was called something else. Reflective tambourine. Here we go. Oh, this one's cool. It's moving from side to side. So let's grab that one. Again, just pop it into the loop. There we've got our tambo. Now this one we want for the whole thing. So let's just grab that top corner there where it says loop, click and drag it out for the whole thing. And now we'll have tambourine in the mix as well. Okay, and at any point, any of this is editable. So if you decide that you want to put in, say, a different drum fill here, click on that, delete it. Let's go and have a look at some drums. So reset, all drums. We were looking at the bar basic set. Here we go. So see if there's a fill in one of these. Is there anything that says, oh, here we go, fill. Okay, that one's pretty full on. Let's just grab that. We want that little fancy bit here. Okay, so we just want that end part. So let's grab the front of it, trim it up so it's a bar long, and then move it back into place. And now we'll have a nice little fill. Okay, let's go to town here. Hang on, let's have a bit of fun and have a fiddle with the bass as well. So if we open up the bass part now, another thing that's really useful at this point is to use a loop. So if we click on the little loop function, you'll see that little yellow bar's appeared. If we click and drag, we can make a loop around our area. And it'll just loop around that one little section. So let's have a little bit of fun here with the old bass. I don't know really what I'm doing, but I'll just... let's just move some of these around a little bit. And maybe the last note too. This might sound terrible, I don't know yet. Let's try that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. So again, let's loop that whole thing out now, drag that loop out so it covers the whole 8 bars. And now we've got ourselves a backing track to play along to. as simple as that. This program really is incredible for this, and you know, you can go on and add different layers of different things, different guitars, and of course record your own instrument over the top of this, which we're going to be covering in a lesson very, very soon. The important thing to do now is to explore the program and explore the idea. There's really no substitute for just having a bit of a muck around with stuff. You know, explore the different loops, move them around, see what happens if you put loops over the top of each other, explore a bit of the MIDI editing, changing the sounds, you know, have a look at some of the MIDI stuff for like the piano and see what you can kind of learn about the way piano or drums are played by looking at the MIDI patterns. You know, it's a very, very interesting little thing here, and part of the deal is running into problems, because all the time when you're working with DAW or digital audio workstations, you're going to come across problems where something just doesn't quite work right, or it's coming out the wrong channel, or it's, you know, and you've got to kind of use a bit of problem solving to figure it out. And GarageBand's relatively simple compared to Pro Tools or Logic, which if you kind of develop that skill for troubleshooting now, it'll be a little bit easier later on when you get even more complicated problems. So you know, hopefully just explore and find some problems, fix them, and just keep on exploring, and you'll learn a whole heap. So hope you enjoy it, and you have fun creating some backing tracks for yourself, and hope you'll join me for the next lesson where we're going to learn to put some guitar on top of our backing tracks. See you soon. Bye bye.